Hello everyone and welcome to a week of Linux news for the 16th of April 2017. It seems like the news just keeps getting worse and worse for Canonical. This week, Jane Silber, the CEO, has announced that she is stepping down. Mark Shuttleworth will be replacing her. Well, he's done that role before, so he's stepping back into the CEO role. So Jane will be moving to the Canonical Board of Directors, so she has not actually left the company entirely. I suppose it's not going to mean a huge amount of change. I've always thought that Mark Shuttleworth has been quite a driving force behind Ubuntu in the direction it's been taking. Some good news for me this week. Well, I've actually received a job offer. From next week, I will no longer be a full-time Linux YouTuber. Pretty good going, really. I don't think that was a feasible role to do, really. Anyway, I've just passed 10 million views on my channel. Not only that, but the past month, I've had 1 million minutes viewed on my channel. Yeah, that's getting on towards 2 years viewed in a single month, from 300,000 views. I'm well chuffed with that. This week I saw the release of Ubuntu 17.04 and I've reviewed, Ubuntu and 3 of the derivatives so far. Starting with Ubuntu Gnome, it seems like some quality checking slipped through the net on their Plymouth boot screen because it keeps crashing for some people on boot up. It affected me, and I noticed quite a few people in the comments saying that it affected them too. I don't really know what it actually is. It could be to do with NVIDIA. I wonder if removing Plymouth would solve the problem. When it's not essential to the system, it just gives you a fancy bootloader. For Ubuntu itself, I don't know what they've done to make it so bloody slow. If you have a lightweight system or you're attempting to run it in VirtualBox, don't. Just pass on it. Go back to Ubuntu 16.04. On a full system install with a decent graphics card, it is not too bad. But I couldn't be too critical with it because the Unity desktop is ending, so as I mentioned in the video, it is like beating a dead horse. Ubuntu Budgie is a new derivative. It was formerly known as Budgie Remix. The stability has massively improved from when it was known as Budgie Remix. In fact, I didn't get a single issue. Ubuntu has seen some significant improvements with the newer release of the KDE desktop, which is now at 5.9.4. You have improved stability and a lot of new features. The future of Ubuntu Gnome has been announced, and unfortunately it's not good. It appears that they will be ending come Ubuntu 18.04. There is no further need for them to continue. I did wonder if they would be able to continue by providing a stock release of the Gnome desktop in Ubuntu. However, with the announcement from Mark Shuttleworth that they plan to use a stock release of the Gnome desktop, I don't really see a direction for Ubuntu Gnome to go. Unless they were to flip it around and start adding in applications like the Amazon store, then I don't think their users would appreciate that very much. So, looks like that's the end of the derivative. Snap support has landed in Fedora 24, 25 and 26. Snaps are a universal packaging format that Canonical have been pushing. All the dependencies are included in one single package, and the Snap applications run in a separate sandboxed environment. The install instructions are nice and simple: sudo dnf install snapd. Although there is an additional step for Fedora 24 users, in that you have to enable the snapd socket in systemd. So it appears from that Hello World example that these snaps will be using the Canonical repository. Hello World 6.3 from Canonical installed. Bit of an update from the community fork of Unity 8, known as UBports. Making progress at running Mir on Wayland. I'm like, what? Why can you not just get rid of Mir entirely? But it turns out that it's very much dependent on it, and so let's have a look. There are so many things around Unity 8 that uses Mir that would be an extremely difficult task to do. Maybe in the future, but for now the plan is to make Mir run on Wayland. At least compatibility will improve, and UBports will soon have support of Android apps with the help of Anbox. OnePlus One will be the first device to support this. And talking about Anbox, Anbox lets you run Android apps natively in Ubuntu or other Linux distros, or GNU Linux distros if you want to be politically correct. Anbox is not a virtual machine. It lets you run Android apps on your computer natively as if they were desktop applications. There is no emulation required. Anbox uses the same Linux kernel for both the host operating system and for Android. Interesting concept. So, any sandboxing at all? The software is still in alpha and the installer currently requires an operating system that supports snaps. Okay, so it will have a form of sandboxing with snaps. That is an interesting use of snaps, in that you can get the sandboxing without introducing additional processing requirements on your system. Bouncy Ball is returning to the KDE Plasma 5 desktop. Well, we lost it a while back. Actually lost track of when we did lose it, sometime in the KDE 4 desktop. Maybe I'll have a play with it at some point. Samsung's squashing of malicious Tizen smart TV bugs is turning messy. Samsung doesn't know how many vulnerabilities it has to patch and how many old Tizen devices may not get an OS upgrade to squash the bugs. What? That just sounds a ridiculous headline there. After 40 critical vulnerabilities on Samsung's Tizen, used in smart TVs and smartwatches, were exposed this week by Israeli researcher Amihai Niederman, the company is scrambling to patch them. But Samsung still doesn't know how many bugs need to be patched. This is because the researcher has not provided a clear list of the 40 issues he has claimed so far. So Samsung running around in the dark trying to solve issues that they don't really know what they are. What? Okay. It looks like a responsible disclosure in that the list of issues has been sent directly to Samsung and not to any malicious parties. As long as no one else has coincidentally stumbled across the same vulnerabilities, users don't really have anything to worry about at this point. I had to come back around to Canonical again, so news from the Register. Mark Shuttleworth says that some free software folk are deeply antisocial and love to hate. So Mark Shuttleworth has labelled some members of the free software community habitual, hateful and reflective contrarians. And this was a comment on his own Google Plus post, thanking those who worked on Ubuntu's recently abandoned Unity project. But as he read the comments on the post, his mood changed, and he soon added a comment about a past debate on the Mir windowing system. The whole Mir hate fest boggled my mind, he wrote. It's free software that does something invisible really well. It became a political topic as irrational as climate change or gun control, where being on one side or the other was a sign of tribal allegiance. And I noticed some articles have been blowing that point out of proportion. Come on, he wasn't comparing Mir to them, he was making an analogy. I used to think it was a privilege to serve people who also loved the idea of service, but now I think many members of the free software community are just deeply antisocial types who love to hate on whatever is mainstream. Well, it is easier to hate on Ubuntu, but it's not like you'll get away with it entirely, as I know from past experience. Trust me, I have hurled some abuse at Ubuntu in the past on YouTube, and got some abuse back in return, and a large quantity of dislikes on those videos. Not as many as Linux Mint though, because people are a lot more defensive about Mint than they are Ubuntu. The very same Muppet would write about how terrible it was that iOS/Android had no competition, and then how terrible it was that Canonical was investing in free software, compositing and convergence. The comment concludes with 3 words of profane and terse criticism. Fuck that shit. Okay. Next. Okay, this is not directly Linux related, but Virgin Media, one of the big internet service providers in the United Kingdom, starts turning customer routers into public Wi-Fi hotspots. 100,000 plus customers opted in by default, but Virgin says download speeds are unaffected. This is something similar to what BT do with their routers. So Virgin are saying that the 2 Wi-Fi networks will be separated through the use of VLANs, and it appears that they've increased the speed of the network, but are not giving you, the customer, this speed. So your router might actually connect at 220 megabits per second, with the extra 20 megabits reserved for public Wi-Fi users. Can you not just have both and turn off the public Wi-Fi side? I am not looking forward to that near me, because I have over 20 Virgin Wi-Fi routers within range. So if they all have public Wi-Fi networks turned on, so that's going to be, 40 Wi-Fi networks in my range? Well, I'd be lucky if my signal makes it anywhere without being overcome by noise. I'm glad we now have the 5 GHz bandwidth on the Wi-Fi, because not many of these Virgin routers seem to be using that near me. Or at least the signal does not penetrate my house so much. And finally, for this week's stupid news, Burger King's dystopian new ad campaign is already a cyanide and toenail clippings disaster. Good headline from Gizmodo. This is the news that the new Burger King commercial triggers the Google Home command with the phrase, well, I'm not going to trigger it, but it contains 2 words, Google and OK. And the actor asks, what is the Whopper burger? So Google would read the answer back from Wikipedia, and that led to the Wikipedia article being changed by, people who are trolling. So the Whopper is a burger consisting of a flame-grilled patty made with 100% rat and toenail clippings. Nice. The Whopper is a cancer-causing hamburger. The Whopper is a burger consisting of a flame-grilled patty made with 100% medium-sized child. Only medium-sized, eh? The Whopper is the worst hamburger product sold. So yeah, there was quite a few changes made. But within a few hours, Google reportedly disabled the Whopper command, so Google Home will no longer trigger when the advert plays. Well, I hope they learnt their lesson. Well, that was the week of Linux news. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later.